how I used AI to get 2.5 million views on one of my TikTok videos. And yes, a lot of people use ChatGPT, but they are barely scratching the surface of what AI can actually help them with. So guys, on this channel, I am going to be showing you practical ways to use ChatGPT and other AI tools to get better results. All right. So whether it's for content, whether it's for research, SEO, music, business, or everyday life, I personally use ChatGPT for ideas and content, Suno to create songs, Claude for research, and Jasper AI for SEO for those of us who are also in business. So if you want to learn how to actually use AI in a practical way without all this confusing tech talk, guys, trust me, you are in the right place. And welcome to Enkrix AI Studio. So on my screen here, you can see our topic for this class is who is ChatGPT. All right. If you've been hearing people talk about ChatGPT and AI everywhere, but you're still thinking, okay, but what exactly is ChatGPT and what am I actually supposed to do with it? Guys, you are in the right place. I am going to take you right from the beginning. All right. We are not going to make this technical or complicated at all because by the end of this lesson, I honestly want you to understand what ChatGPT is, what it can help you with, what it cannot do, and most importantly, how you can start using it by yourself. So, guys, let's dive right into it. Now, moving on to slide 2. On my screen, you can see it says you are in the right place. I said it before. This is the right place for you to be, guys. Okay. If you've ever thought any of this, I don't really understand what ChatGPT does. This might be too technical for me, or I want to try it, but I don't know where to start, or I'm a bit nervous about all this AI stuff. Guys, you don't need to worry about it anymore. All right. Because what I want you to know, okay, before we go further, is you don't have to be a tech expert to use ChatGPT. Trust me, you don't need to know coding because most people think, oh, I have to know coding. No, you don't have to know coding, all right? And you definitely don't need to understand all the complicated language surrounding artificial intelligence before you can start benefiting from it. So, guys, we are going to learn it one simple step at a time. So, now moving on to slide 3. Why this lesson matters, guys. The problem, as you can see on the screen, most people hear about ChatGPT, but they feel overwhelmed. They don't know what it actually does, which is true, how to use it, or whether it's even for them. I can tell you for free that ChatGPT is for everyone and it has come to stay, whether you like it or not. So the earlier you tap into it, the better for you. Okay. So today's goal, I've said it before, that by the end of this lesson, you will know exactly what ChatGPT is, understand what it can do and what it cannot do, and most importantly, feel confident enough to try it for yourself. All right. So moving on to slide 4. What is ChatGPT? In the simplest possible terms, guys, ChatGPT is an AI assistant built by OpenAI, all right, that you can communicate with using normal languages. And that last part is important, guys. You don't need to speak, you don't need to speak to it like a computer. You can type, help me write the email, explain this to me, help me plan my week, or give me idea for my business. You can even paste your message notes into ChatGPT and say, please help me organize, please organize this for me, all right? So you're giving it information or instruction and it is generating a response designed to help you, okay? So that's the basic idea, guys. Let's move on to slide 5. So on our slide 5, who created ChatGPT? In the previous slide, I said it's, ChatGPT is created by OpenAI. Okay. So ChatGPT was created by OpenAI. Okay. It's a research and technology company. You can also research that for yourself to be sure. Okay. It is made for everyday people. You don't need to be a tech expert. Trust me. If you can type, you can use it. All right. Even if you can talk, because it also has a voice prompt. So if you can do any of that, you definitely can use it. All right. So it is also designed to help with read task, writing, thinking, learning, and much more. Okay. So um so what matters is that ChatGPT was designed to help people work with information and language, all right? And it is not just for programmers or people working in technology. No, it is for everybody, every day, it's for everyday people, like I said earlier. A student can use it, a parent can use it, a small business owner can use it, someone looking for a job can use it, a content creator can use it, okay? You can use it. The way you use ChatGPT will simply depend on what you need help with, all right? So guys, let's move on to slide 6 because I don't want this to be too lengthy. So moving on to slide 6. Okay, what kind of AI is ChatGPT? We all know there are a lot of AI now. Okay, I don't want to start listing them, but we have so many AI now. But the one a lot of people use every day is ChatGPT. So you may want to ask, what kind of AI is ChatGPT? As you can see on the screen, ChatGPT is a language-based AI assistant. Okay, it works through words, questions, and instruction. It's been trained to recognize how human write and think. Okay, again, if you can type it, ChatGPT can help. All right, you might hear people use the term like AI model or language model. Don't let those words scare you at all. Okay, for now, I want you to think of ChatGPT as a language-based AI assistant. Okay. In other words, it works extremely well with words. Okay. You give it words, question, instruction, ideas, or information, and it uses language pattern to generate a response. All right. That's why it can help you write something, explain something, summarize something, brainstorm idea, or organize information. For a beginner, remember, you can communicate with ChatGPT through language. All right. So let's move on to slide 7. On the screen, you can see it says what language-based means in practice. We have our five cards here. We have words, we have patterns, we have question, we have instruction, and we have ideas. Okay. So here is what language based really means in real life. You can give ChatGPT words, you can ask it question, you can give it instruction. It recognizes patterns in the way language is normally structured. All right. And it can help turn your ideas into something useful. For example, imagine I've written down 10 randoms idea for a YouTube video. They are all over the place. I could paste those notes into ChatGPT and say, please organize these ideas into a clear YouTube video outlines. Now, guys, I've gone from messy thought to something structured. That's one of the simplest ways to understand what this technology can do. Trust me. So, not to take much of your time, let's dive right into slide 8. Okay. Slide 8, what can ChatGPT help you with? Okay, as seen on the screen, it can help you with writing. We said that before, brainstorming, learning, planning, organizing, research support, summarizing, practicing skills. This is where ChatGPT becomes exciting, guys, because once you understand its strength, you start seeing how useful it can be in everyday life. All right. So it can help with writing, it can help you with brainstorming, it can help you with learning, it can help you with planning, and so on. And this list isn't even everything, trust me, okay? Because as a beginner, you should know these things. Well, you don't need to learn every possible use today, okay? Like you don't need to learn everything today. Start with the things that are useful to you. If writing emails take up your time, start there. If you're studying, use it for learning. If you're a business person or you run a business, or maybe start with brainstorming or planning. Just make ChatGPT useful to your life. The more you use it, the more you learn, about it. So let's dive right into slide 8. So now think of ChatGPT as a teacher. The first role I want you to think about is ChatGPT as a teacher, guys. Now, let's say I'm learning about business, all right? Because I'm also a business person. So let's say I'm learning about a business and I keep hearing the term profit margin, but I don't really understand it, right? So instead of pretending I understand, I can just ask, teach me what profit margin means using the simple small business examples, all right? And if the explanation is still too complicated, I can simply just say, make that even simpler, all right? Or give me another example. That's one of the things I really like about learning this ChatGPT, right? Now, you can keep asking questions until the explanation start making sense to you. It's that easy, guys, okay? So let's move to the next slide. Yeah, so also on our slide 10, think of ChatGPT as a research assistant, okay? On the screen, it says, what does this mean? It means to find, summarize, compare information so you don't have to dig through dozens of sources, okay? Example, I'm thinking of starting a gift bag business. Help me research customer problems and market gap. Okay. You can get quick, structured answers instead of spreading hours searching. Use ChatGPT to speed up your research. All right. Now, you can also use ChatGPT in other ways. All right. Notice I said assistant. I didn't say believe absolutely everything ChatGPT tells you. Okay. Because yes, it can make mistakes. So there's a difference. Let's say I'm thinking about starting a business. I could ask, help me understand the common problems customers have in this market. Now, ChatGPT can help you identify areas to investigate, compare ideas, generate questions, and organize what I'm learning. Okay. So if I'm making an important decision based on that information, I should still verify the fact. Yes, because like I said, it can make mistake. So think of ChatGPT, as think of ChatGPT as an app that can help you research. Okay. ChatGPT can help you research, and it shouldn't replace your judgment, right? So let's move on to slide 11. So slide 11, think of ChatGPT as a writing partner. All right, so what does this mean? It helps you draft, edit, and refine any kind of written content, okay? From emails to essays to social media posts, okay? Examples can be, help me rewrite this email to sound more professional and friendly, while keeping it short. You can even add, I want you to sound human, okay? If you feel like, oh, this is not sounding like me, you can just say, I want it to sound human, all right? So you can get a polished first draft in seconds instead of starting at a blank page, right? So use ChatGPT to write faster and with more confidence, as you can see on the screen. So guys, this is probably one of the easiest use, okay, to try immediately. Now, have you ever known exactly what you want to say but couldn't find the right words, if you get what I mean? So maybe you are writing an email, a message to your manager, or a business post. You can write your rough version and tell ChatGPT, rewrite this so it sounds respectful, warm, and professional. You haven't handed over your voice, right? You've given yourself a writing partner, and you can keep changing the result until it sounds right for you. So let's move on to slide 12. Think of ChatGPT as an idea generator. Okay, so on the screen, you can read what we have on the screen. So I'm just going to summarize it. Sometimes, for me, I think the biggest problem is not that you don't know what to write. Okay, is that you don't know where to start. So me, once sometimes what I do is, I just press the voice recording, and I'll just say everything I want to say. Okay, and I can just edit it before sending it to ChatGPT. All right. Now, this is where ChatGPT as an idea generator becomes useful because you can use it to brainstorm content, right? You can use it to brainstorm content ideas, product ideas, lesson ideas, business ideas, hook, captions, names, and themes. All right. So, for example, you can tell ChatGPT, give me 20 TikTok content. All right. I don't want to start opening the app here so that it won't be too lengthy. So these examples, you can take these examples, and paste it, on your ChatGPT and read through the results. Okay. So going back to the example, you can say, give me 20 TikTok content ideas for complete beginners, learning ChatGPT. Will all 20 ideas be brilliant? Probably not, but maybe five are excellent. Okay. So, but maybe five are excellent, and maybe another one sparks, an even better idea. So sometimes ChatGPT job is simply to help you get your own thinking moving, right? So yeah, let's move on to slide 13. Think of ChatGPT as an idea organizer. Okay. So I'm just going to summarize what we have here on the screen. Okay. So sometimes the problem isn't lack of ideas. We all have ideas. Everybody have idea. Okay. So, but the problem is that they are everywhere. So if you've got ideas, if you've got notes on your phone, something written on paper, three ideas in your head, and another one you remember while driving, you can put those rough thoughts into ChatGPT and say, organize this into a clear plan. I'll repeat that. You can put those rough thoughts into ChatGPT and say, organize this into a clear plan, or turn this brain dump into a do list. Okay. Now, think of this as a messy thought in, organized structure out. All right. So, like I said before, that you can just use your voice notes, to record everything you want to say, after saying anything in front, of in front of your message. You can just say, turn this brain dump into a to-do list, and it will organize it for you. So, let's move on to slide 14. So, think of ChatGPT as a practice coach. Okay. So, I'm just going to run through this so we don't spend too much time on this. So, ChatGPT as a practice coach. Yeah. Another brilliant use for ChatGPT is using it as a practice coach. Now, imagine you have a job interview next week. You can say, I'm preparing for a job interview. Ask me 10 interview questions one at a time. Now, wait for my answers before asking the next question. So what you've just done is actually practicing. Okay. Now you're not just reading interview tips, you're actually practicing. You could do the same thing for presentation, an exam, a sales conversation, or even learning a new language. All right. So practice build confidence. That's just the truth. And ChatGPT can give you a space to practice before the real moment happens. So, guys, let's move on to slide 15. Real life examples. Okay. Now, these are real life examples we have on the screen. Write a polite email to my landlord. Rewrite this WhatsApp. So you can use all these examples. Okay. You can use them, paste them on your chat GPT. Okay. Another one you can also add is, you can add other stuff. All right. So I'll leave this. I think we have another some other examples. So this real life example, business practice. So you can also use this, write a follow-up email to a client after a meeting, summarize this report into 3 key points. Okay. Then practice. Give me 5 prompts to practice using chat GPT daily. Act as a customer and let me practice my sales page, simplify, explain this contract clause. So you have this on your screen, guys. So you can either take a screenshot, write it down, whichever way that suits you. All right. So moving on to slide 17, what ChatGPT is not. All right. So understanding what ChatGPT can't do is just as important as what it can do. All right. So first, guys, ChatGPT is not a human. See, I know a lot of I've seen some people that think, oh, it can read my thoughts. Yeah, it's as if it knows what is going on in my life. No, ChatGPT is not human. Okay. ChatGPT is not human. It may sound human when it responds. That is true, but that doesn't mean there is a person behind the screen thinking about your questions. No. Secondly, ChatGPT is not always correct. I've said it before. Even on the app, you will see it there. They'll tell you it can make mistake. Okay. Yeah. So it's not always correct. It can make mistakes. And sometimes an incorrect answer can sound very confident. Okay. So don't always take everything to be 100%. All right. So thirdly, ChatGPT is not a mind reader. Yes. If you haven't explained what you need, it may have to make up assumption. Okay. So for those of us who use it very well, you understand what I mean here. All right. So please, guys, it is not a mind reader. Okay. So always know that it can make mistake as well. So let's move on to slide 18. Also, guys, remember, ChatGPT should never replace your own judgment. See, this is one of the things I usually tell people. Use your judgment, use your instinct, okay? So think of it as something that can work with you, not something that replaces you, okay? You can still decide what is appropriate, which is true. You can still check important information. Like if you feel like you have doubt, if you feel like, oh, you're not sure about this, you can fact check it. All right. You still decide whether the answer actually makes sense for your situation. So ChatGPT can be incredibly powerful, okay? But the person directing it still matters, which is you. All right. So let's move on to slide 19. Better questions usually lead to better answers. So what does this mean? If there's only one thing you remember from today's lesson, guys, let it be this. Better questions usually lead to better answers. Now, not longer questions, not complicated questions, clearer questions. All right. So this is where a lot of beginners go wrong, to be fair. They give ChatGPT almost no information and expect it to somehow know exactly what they mean. So let me show you the difference. Now, let's move to slide 20. Yeah, so this is what I mean. Weak prompt versus stronger prompt. Now, on your screen, you see the weak prompt. Example, give me content ideas. Well, you're not clear. There's no clarity. You're not clear about what you're saying. So it's weak. Now, here's a stronger one. Give me 15 content ideas for busy moms building a business while working in care, emotional, practical, suitable for TikTok. All right. So context plus clarity equals better results. So the more you tell to ChatGPT, like the more information you give it, the more useful it becomes. All right. So another example can be write an email. Yeah. So another example can be write an email. ChatGPT can write an email, but it has no idea who I'm emailing, right? So when I'm emailing them or how I want to sound, ChatGPT doesn't know that. Compare that with write a polite email to my manager asking to swap my Friday shift because of childcare. Now you can see the more information you give it, the more it will become clearer. All right. So here's another one. Teach me marketing. That's very broad, guys. But if you say teach me Instagram marketing basics for my small UK fashion business, now the thing is ChatGPT understands much more about what I actually need. Okay. So if your context plus clarity is clear, it will give you better results. So let's move on to slide 21. Weak prompt. So we are seeing a weak prompt versus stronger prompt. So the weak one, as you can see here, write me an email. Another one, write. So the stronger one, write a polite follow-up email to a client who hasn't replied in 5 days. Keep it short, warm, and professional. Again, context plus clarity gives you better result. All right. So Let's move on to slide 22. Common beginner mistakes. So we have vague question, expecting perfection from one sentence, no tone, style examples, follow-up question. So here are some common beginner mistakes, as you can see. Number one is asking questions that are too vague. Number two, expecting perfection from one sentence. Sometimes your first prompt is simply the beginning of the conversation. Number three, not explaining the tone or style you want. If you want something friendly, say friendly. If you want professionally, just say professional, right? So, and number four, not asking follow-up question. That last one is huge. So now, guys, let's move on to slide 23. Common beginner mistakes. Yeah, so no, we have assuming every answer is correct, copying without checking, giving up, after 1 week answer. Again, context plus clarity equal better results. So guys, so, like I said, another mistake is assuming every answer ChatGPT gives you is automatically current and correct. No, please don't do that. For anything important or time sensitive, guys, always check, please. Okay. Another mistake is copying the answer without even reading it properly. You have to read. You have your own, your own brain. Okay. So always read it just to fact check everything. Read to be sure that what ChatGPT has given you is correct. All right. So ChatGPT might give you something beautifully written that simply isn't right for you. That is why I said you have to read it. And finally, don't give up because the first answer wasn't good. Sometimes, guys, a disappointing first answer doesn't necessarily mean ChatGPT can help you. The truth is sometimes it simply means you need to give it better direction. Okay. So now let's make the one practical. The one practical. What should you actually do after this lesson? So we move on to slide 24. You're the one practice, right? So you're the one practice. Now is your turn. And I'm deliberately keeping today's exercise simple, guys. Choose just one of those. All right. If you're interested in learning, ask, what can GPT help me do? If you want something practical, ask, help me plan my week simply. All right. Or if you're interested in business or content, ask, give me 10 content ideas. All right. Don't worry about getting perfect results. Okay. Our goal today, is to start the conversation. All right. So, and once you get your answer, I want you to do something else. Let's move on to slide 25. Say, ask a follow-up questions. Okay. Don't stop at the first answer. Ask a follow-up question. Can you make that simpler? Try, can you make that simpler? All right. Can you give me an example? Can you make it shorter? Can you turn that into a checklist? Or can you rewrite that more warmly? All right. This is something I really want beginners to understand. All right. Because ChatGPT is a conversation, like we said earlier. So you don't have to accept the first answer and leave it. Okay. You don't have to accept it. Keep directing it. All right. So before we finish, take a moment, guys, to think about what you've learned in these lessons. Moving on to day one reflection. Now ask yourself, what did I try today? What surprised me about ChatGPT's response? What would I do differently next time? What do I want to explore tomorrow? Okay? Yeah. So our day one recap. You learned what ChatGPT is and how it works. You explore what it can do and what it cannot do. You wrote your first prompt and saw real results. You learned the difference between weak and strong prompts. You practiced follow-up questions to refine your answer. So you now know how to start using ChatGPT with confidence. Okay? So, like I said earlier, you communicate with it through language. Okay? You communicate with it through language. It can help you write, learn, plan, organize, brainstorm, research, and practice. All right? Again, it is not human. All right? It is not always correct. It can't read your mind. I want you to have this at the back of your mind. And perhaps the bigger lesson from today that I want you to take away. All right. If you don't understand those things, you've already built a really good foundation. Now you know what ChatGPT is. In day two, we are going to look at how to talk to ChatGPT and how to give it the right context so it can start understanding the way you work. All right. What you need and the kind of results you want. We'll look at why some prompts give disappointing answers, why vague question cause problem, and the simple building blocks of a stronger prompt. Okay. So today was about meeting ChatGPT. Tomorrow is about teaching it how to work with you. Okay. And before you go, if you started this video feeling confused about ChatGPT, let me know in the comments. Does ChatGPT make more sense to you now? And I'd also love to know what you want to use it for. Is it work? Is it business? Is it learning, content creation, everyday life? Or if you're learning ChatGPT with me from the beginning, subscribe so you don't miss day two. All right. So, and if you know somebody who's curious about AI but doesn't know where to start, share these lessons with them. Okay. Remember, you don't have to learn everything at once. We are doing this one day, one lesson, one practical step at a time. All right. Thank you for watching. And again, we have so many lessons to unpack. All right. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. See you in my next video. Bye.